Hello, everyone. I am Tassa, and happy Easter! It's finally Easter. Hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful holiday if you celebrate. Of course, today's Gems of War, campaign 13, very last day of it. Week 10, day 7. So today, of course, very last few hours to go finish up pretty much everything. Almost everything is concluding as of this week, with a patch coming out pretty soon, either next week, the following week, sometime in a pretty soon TM. But sometime very soon. But anyways, as far as what's finishing up today, of course, don't forget to clear out the domain if you haven't already. Good old Mana Drainer troop there, King of Ravens. We won't have to deal with that power gem anymore going forward, so that'll be a thing as well. That power gem, when I say that power gem, I mean the spirit gem. With the Mana Drain effect, won't be falling from the sky. Obviously, things like King of Ravens and such will still be out there and, you know, usable. However, the actual mechanic where they fall from the sky will be ending as of tomorrow. Aside from that, of course, faction event, which we'll be cleaning up today, finishing that out. Just have a few more battles that's finishing up as of a couple hours from now. And of course, the standard ward event, which most people probably already have done by now, but if your guild does not, definitely make sure to go and do so. Might as well claim it right there. Anyways, we're going to go over all the weekly spoilers and kind of just go from there. Finish out everything we might have to still finish out, get all the weeklies done, and basically go from there. And we'll have a bunch of redeem codes today as well to celebrate good old Easter. With that being said, let's actually start with one. Here you guys go. First code coming right into chat. And let me go say hello to everyone, and then we'll go over all the weekly spoilers. But anyways, hello, hello Tyrion. A lot of people chatting already. Hello Isabel. We did start a little bit late. Hello Bill. Hello Isabel. Hello Lester. Hello Trilogy. Hello Clip Bomb. Hello Logic Slayer. Hello Kikolia. Hello, Jason. Hello, hello, Jonian. Hello, Logic Slayer. Hello, Sushi Ninja. Hello, Cookie. Hello, Chad. Hello, Draco. Hello, Jamie. Hello, Ginky. Hello, Joyful Dragonfly. Hello, everyone else. Welcome, welcome. Happy Easter. Speaking of which, we do have a free thing in game. Of course, it's just the standard 50 gems with some trait stones. Did they actually do anything for the adventure board? I didn't actually check today. No, they didn't. That's unfortunate. Also, we didn't have like an Easter event necessarily. That's mostly because we're getting the spring event soon. With that being said, that's not next week, right? It's the week after next week, I believe. Imagine, not even sure. Let's go check the thing. That'd be a good thing to go check. Well, first things first, let's go check the official post. So, gemsofwar.com. And go check the official posts on the official news. Latest news. Right here, never forget. Anyways, we got this thing coming in. This elephant creature. 13 mana cost, red, green. Ends up destroy a row and deal a bunch of damage to the first 2 enemies boosted by my life. And of course, we have no clue what that boost ratio is. So hello, Terran's World. The boost ratio is the following. Because for whatever reason, they still don't post it on the weekly posts. The boost ratio for this troop is 3-1, basically meaning it's under the category of useless HP boost ratio troop, which is very unfortunate. So yeah. Well, he does double hit, so I guess it's slightly less useless, but I don't know. It's just not enough to justify using this thing. Oh yeah, we're also getting a Kingdom Legend, so through the event key drop table. The First Claw Mahais, Rashka Knight, Legendary. As far as what this does, I cannot read that over top of that text. What does that even say? Let's see. Eliminate a bunch of attack and armor from the first 2 enemies boosted by my attack. Give 3 to 8 mana to all other allies. Okay, so this is interesting. This is kind of like inverse, gosh, what's that one queen called? That one green-blue queen from Sword's Edge. It's kind of the inverse of that. And the boost ratio is 3-1. Or, sorry, no, I read that wrong, sorry. Oh, no, they're both a 3-1 boost ratio. Okay, never mind. They're both 3-1, I didn't read that wrong. Let's see. Eliminate magic +1 attack and armor from the first 2 enemies boosted by my attack at a 3-1. So if he has, like, 90 attack, it'd be 10. Or, sorry, 30, I mean. And then gives a bunch of mana to all other allies. Interesting. I don't see it being too useful. Gain 2 attack when matching red gems. Yeah, it's nothing outstanding. Like, it's not damage pressuring or anything. It's just lowering their attack a little. Obviously, their armor as well, but... well, I guess the armor is kind of like damage, but not really. I don't know. It just doesn't seem that usable. It's not horrible, though. But I just don't see much of a use case of bothering to bring it out, which is kind of unfortunate. But anyways, so those are those two new troops just coming in. Speaking of useless things, we're also getting the final bad dagger. So this is the last of the 6 daggers when we have the Doom event going on next week. Doom event happens once every 11 weeks, and it goes on for an entire week period. Of course, this is a standard weekly event, And the event itself gives some pretty good loot, you know, the forged scrolls and everything. However, this weapon itself is pretty bad. You might still want to get it for completionist purposes. However, its actual usability is super, super low. Also, what on earth just happened? Why did you go to the other page? Go back. But, did I just actually click on the thing? I think so. But, yeah, unfortunately, all the daggers are in a pretty useless category. We are going to be getting rings next. We don't currently know what the rings will do. We'll probably know after next patch. But if we actually go check the weapons, last I recall, we do not have info on what the upcoming rings are doing. They're all to be determined. We know that it's going to be ring. We know that the 6 new Doom weapons over the next year and a half are going to be rings after we get the stagger. And then 77 days after that, we'll have the rings starting to come in. However, we don't exactly know what those rings are going to be, as it's still to be determined. But we'll figure that out in about 77 days from now. Or whatever next patch hits, because we might actually know by then. But yeah, the final of the useless dagger, so that's good. Not because the weapon is good, but we can finally get some other Doom weapons that are hopefully actually usable. So that'll be at least better going forward. So we can actually somewhat look forward to these events, other than just for the forged scrolls. And who knows, maybe we'll start getting all the good rings if they're actually usable. Anyways, aside from that, other things that we have going on this week, let's go over to the good old weekly. For one, we might have a patch this Tuesday. Not guaranteed, but it's definitely possible. Especially if you look over here for how much we can see forward. It's very likely to be within the next few weeks or so. But anyways, we got the Tower of Doom that I was just talking about. Faction event, standard. It's going to be Jashi's Palace, because of course we have, Pride Lands as the event. Oh yeah, one pretty relevant thing about Pride Lands, I almost forgot to mention. Pride Lands has a particularly noteworthy weapon. If we go over to weapon and go under the category of Pride Lands, we can actually see the following. Somewhere's in all this mess. Where is it? Rope Dart. Rope Dart is available in Soulforge next week. It is considered among one of the best weapons in the entire game. And it is very hard to get by normal means, because you have to wait till a Pride Lands event week. Well, guess what next week is? A Pride Lands event week. So finally time to go get Rope Dart if you don't have it. Probably the biggest thing happening next week, to be honest. Anyone who doesn't have Rope Dart can finally go get Rope Dart. I highly advise not leaving next week without it, regardless of how much resources you have to spend to try to scrap together to get it. It is worth it. You probably see me using it almost every week, particularly during Guild War and other content. Like, I think we're even running for the faction right now. We're running Rope Dart Ubistet. But yeah, I highly advise getting this weapon. You might not be able to for about another year or so, so if you don't get it this week, so definitely advise to do so. It's not like a must have, but it's pretty high priority to end up getting, as it's an extra turn weapon, and extra turn weapons are always good. Moves them to the front, has armor tier, has entangle, has some gem destroy for mana accumulation. There's a lot of things going for it. It's among one of the better weapons in the entire game. Anyways, aside from that, Wednesday we have ourselves the pet rescue. I don't think we're getting anything special. Yeah, it's just a Shadowhunter's Hawk, which is just for Shadowhunter buff. This might be the first time it's been available on a event like this. However, that doesn't actually make it good. But if nothing else, if you haven't already gotten it, it'll be easier than ever to go get it. Guaranteed this Wednesday. Thursday, we have the class event for Sunspear. Sunspear pretty good. Mostly uses a perpetual red hero class. And Friday, we have Bounty Hunter. And I forget if we actually have a good troop coming in. Let's go check. Oh, Bounty Troop do we have coming in this Friday? We have the following. We have the one from Divinian Fields, an Axebeak. It ends up having, what is this? Double skull damage against stunned. It deals a bunch of magic damage +2 to the first enemy, with a 25% chance to deal half damage to all enemies below it. So almost like a % chance AoE hit? That's interesting. If that was a 100% chance, that'd be good. But only 25%? I'm not sure that's going to be viable enough. Especially since it's physical damage instead of true damage. But, I don't know. That doesn't seem like it'll be strong enough. But who knows? It could be. Oh yeah, Pride Lands does get to a pretty high star level. 27, yeah, that sounds about right, because we're getting 2. But yeah, 27 would be the star level they'd be able to get up to. Wait, I don't have something maxed from this location. What is it? Oh yeah, Bandit. Oh yeah, Bandit. That's a factor too, isn't it? Bandit is actually untraded from some people, not everyone. But while you still can have the gold elite level, which we have on it, that does prevent you from getting one additional upgrade occasionally. Because even though he's gold elite, he doesn't actually have the final trait. So if you look over here, it doesn't say 34 out of 35. It says 33 out of 35. But that's because Bandit isn't traded. Because even though he's gold elite, he's still not considered a fully traded troop. So if we're going to keep him like that, which we likely are forever, we unfortunately will have one less star level in some situations. And that might actually come out to be the case this time around. Luckily, most kingdoms are getting bottlenecked around that higher level anyways due to not having enough Imperial deeds. I mean, not enough Imperial, not enough deed books, so it's not too big a deal. Unless they ever fix that mechanic. But even then, it's only a difference of 1 star level. You highly doubt that'll make too huge a difference or overall tribute or anything. Question, is there an easy way to know which weapon is in Soulforge will come around in the gems and events so you don't waste diamonds? Yes. That is actually something that's always known ahead of time. One way that you can see it in-game, as there is actually a way to see it in-game, you can see what the event week is preemptively to every single event week. Like right now, you can see the background is Glacial Peaks because this week is a Glacial Peaks event week. Last week was Sword's Edge, and you can see that has a Sword's Edge background, so on and so forth. So basically, whenever there's a campaign, on the first day of the campaign, like when we're on the very first one all the way over here, like not next week as in tomorrow, but next week as in like a week from now, you'll actually be able to see all 10 event weeks in-game. That's not currently the case because of right now, because this is the pass event. But like, for example, we have the Strix Kingdom, we have Divinian Fields, we have, I completely forget which one that is for some reason. This one is Wild Plains, this one is Shentang, so you kind of know the entire order as long as you know the background, Leonis Empire. And of course, these were the event weeks we just had. Cinder Mirage from 2 weeks ago, Sword's Edge from the other week, a Glacial Peak from this week. So you won't be able to see that next week. However, you can always use third-party resources as well. So we were just using Terran's World. We can actually see all the events this way too. Like, for example, we can see next week is Pride Lands. We can see the week after that is Pan's Vale. Then, or sorry, not Pan's Vale. Wait, why is there 2 things going on? I'm confused. Oh, probably because we have the other thing going on. Wait, which one is which? This is probably for the spring event. So then we have the Dragon's Claw. Then we have Volpacia. Then we have Kedar. Then after that, we have Pan's Vale again. Oh, yeah, never mind. Not again, because this is coming in through the holiday event. Then we have, oh, the Adana rework. Oh, whoa. What's happening with Adana here? Why is there so many troops? Wait, why is Adana getting so many troops when it's getting its rework? Is this some kind of new feature they're adding? Oh! Spoilers for next patch? Wait, why is there... Oh, no. It's because it's in the campaign pass. Oh, I know what this is. This is the battle pass thingy. The Kingdom Pass one. That's why they're all coming in on the same day, because you can mass gem them. Never mind. Because we're getting a Adana rework in May. When they do it, we're also getting a Kingdom Pass to associate it with it. And the reason why they're all in the same day and not spread out is you could technically gem or money through all the tiers. So even though you generally get these over a multi-week period, they all theoretically come out on the first day because you could spend gems and or money to max them all. Most people don't do that, but you could, which is why it shows they're all coming out on the same day. Because I was wondering why it was so many on the same day, but yeah, that's just the Kingdom event for the Adana rework, which they better not touch Ironhawk. We'll find out. Give it 35 more days, or a little bit less, because it might happen slightly beforehand. We don't really know. It'll even happen either directly on that week or like right beforehand. Like it'll probably happen on that Monday, if I had to guess. So yeah, pretty much in 35 days. So in 1 month from now, we will have the final verdict on is Ironhawk still viable? Anyways, watch, we're gonna finally cover the Mythic tier list before this time. And I'm willing to make a bet that Ironhawk will go from like the best thing in the game to like unusable. And then it will make the video invalid. Because I'll mention Ironhawk is one of the best things in the game. And then like a month later, they're gonna nerf it. It's gonna happen. I hope it doesn't. But you know it's gonna happen. It actually happened last time we covered a Mythic tier list. We covered this whole Mythic tier list. And then a month later, or actually I think it was like 2 months later, Ironhawk was added to the game. And it's like, whoops, well, Ironhawk's meta now. And now it's almost gonna be the inverse, where we cover another tier list for it. And it's like, oh, Ironhawk's not meta anymore. I sure hope it still is. They better not touch Ironhawk. Or Tesla. Or anything that's actually viable there. There's a lot of things that need a buff from that kingdom. Hopefully they don't really nerf anything. But we'll find out in 35 days from now. Anyways, in other news, let's actually do things. We've been talking this whole time. How long have we been going? Like 50? Oh, only 15 minutes. We can start a little bit later. But anyways, let's go and actually do things. So we already handed out a code earlier. We'll have 2 more codes very soon over the course of the stream. I guess we'll start by clearing out all the events we need to go do. So first things first, we already finished this, luckily. And by that, I mean Guild cleared that out. So let's go finish out the current faction event. So we've been using the following team. Speaking of Rope Dart's available next week. If you still need Rope Dart, go get it. as you definitely do not want to leave next week without it. And it will be available all next week, from Monday till the end of next week, Sunday. They already messed up Night Spider, yeah. I don't think they intended to really nerf Night Spider. It's more so just an interaction of how gem spawns work. If they ever fix gem spawns, it would also fix Night Spider. That's something that they would have to fix the mechanic more so than the troop. For example, everything that boost ratios from Submerge, Bless, stuff like that. It's not necessarily that the troop themselves are bad in those situations. It's more so the mechanic of how it works is bad. And I feel like that's the same way with Night Spider. Like, Night Spider, theoretically, even though it got nerfed, technically didn't get nerfed if they ever rework how gem spawning works with those special gems. And the same case for anything that has, like, Bless boost ratio, Submerge boost ratio. Like, most of those troops, yes, they're currently bad, but if they ever fixed the way the mechanic interacts, they would actually just magically become good all of a sudden. So it really just comes down to fixing the mechanic, which is on the long list of things they may or may not do eventually. Because it's all situations where if the mechanic worked like how you think it would work, it would actually be okay, but it doesn't, so they're awful. You said level 500 Pure Faction Deathless? Nice, huge congrats. Yeah, we didn't go for it this weekend because we already had it done. But honestly, this is one of the funner ones. There's so much diversity you could do for this faction, because you could just mimic out every single thing of every single one of your enemies. It's a really fun faction. It might actually be the most fun faction in the entire game. Like, I really like the synergy that All Seeing Eye had when it first came out, and still does to this day, obviously. And I feel like the kingdom that has gotten closest to replicating that kind of synergy was actually Mirrored Halls, and I would say Mirrored Halls probably did the best. There's a really cool synergy between the troops, and a very fun gimmick to end up using. I wish every single faction was more diverse like those two, because it feels like the correlation between all the troops actually function really well together, whereas for the average faction, that is not the case. A lot of factions are literally just like spam the legend, or like a tank plus one other thing, or, you know, some other combination of such. Very rarely do you use like all four, and even in this faction you don't use all four, but they're fun enough that it kind of makes up for it. Have fun Pure Faction is an oxymoron. I don't know, some of them can be fun. Half Guardian's definitely pretty high up there. I like the synergy in All Seeing Eye, though it's not as fun as Half Guardians. I think it's mostly due to the layout. The layout is so dated, because it was one of the very first factions ever conceptualized. So the team synergy was a lot better. But the actual layout is very dated compared to how layouts work in current factions. Actually, it is still to this day. Not the Deep Delve version, but the actual standard version is still has one less room than every other delve. Originally, they were going to have like a range of how many rooms are within a delve, having like 8 to 10 or whatever it would have been, like a range of 2. But now all of them are the exact same amounts, and they've never really gone down the route of like, oh, let's go different number of rooms. And they haven't really tried exploring that, even though that was originally going to be a mechanic. But due to that, to this day, standard All Seeing Eye, not Deep Delve All Seeing Eye, but the standard All Seeing Eye layout still has one less room than every other delve in the game. Because it was still from that previous concept, which they never really went forward with. So now it just has one less forever. You got your Dark Pits to 220? Nice. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Let's see. No problem, Draco. We'll take that one out. Get our double destroy. Hey, he needs to go get mana. Hey, you got mana. Oh no! But we took a skull! No! That's one funny thing with Ubistat. Sometimes getting random Sky Skull is actually bad, not good. Because you're looking to kill. And that's kind of unfortunate when that ends up happening there. What room are we on? I'll get there. I feel like in this delve layout, more so than almost any other one, I always leave at least one room undone. Normally the one in top left, but sometimes I forget the one in bottom right. Even though it's right next to the final room. It's happened a good number of times. But yeah, what do you guys do for Easter, by the way? Any who celebrate? I gotta see a couple family. Not too much, though. Definitely ate way too much food, though. If there was anything that was too much today. It was so good, though. Actually, I'm eating more after the stream ends. Like, the second the stream ends, I'm just going back to eating. I still have so much leftover food. I still want to eat quite a bit of it while it's fresh. Obviously not everything, but you know. It's not going to be as good in a couple days. Eat. I don't know. I feel like most holidays come down to that at this point. Just like eating with family and our friends. Yeah, ham's always good. I feel like every single holiday just ends up getting closer and closer, just being like Thanksgiving food. Because it's some of my favorite kind of food. So almost every single holiday it tends to be that. Like obviously we did ham instead of turkey. But everything else was pretty much just standard Thanksgiving food for the most part. Had a few exceptions here and there. In Delves, what's the room order you want to complete? The last two rooms. Offer possible 500 gold. Oh, hello, Anthony. I'm not sure what you mean by your question. In Delves, what's the room order you have to complete so that the last two rooms offer possible 500 gold? Their gold amount is static initially. Like, it doesn't change. It changes based on your multiplier. The ones that you might be looking for are the treasure rooms, which are generally in designated locations except for a few that are luck-based. But it's different for every single kingdom where the treasure rooms are. Like, for example, in this layout right here, the only treasure room that's guaranteed is the one in top left right over here. There's no way to tell just by this screen, but you can tell based on this loot right here. Like, right here, every single room that is 800 or more gold, with the exception of the one that's 30 glory, are all treasure rooms. So you could easily tell from that. If we look at the number, like this one is not a treasure room, doesn't even have gold. This one's not a treasure room. 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 And this one's not a treasure room. So we can tell if it's 800 plus gold that it is. And this one is, it's 1,000. But you kind of just have to know where they are. More so than anything. Because that determines what a good bulk of their gold is. And generally the way that you do it is you take all the higher multipliers and then take the treasure rooms last, for the most part. If you're looking to optimize that resource. I think that's what you're asking. I'm not quite sure. But if that is, I hope that helps. But you basically have to figure out for every single kingdom where they are. Or every single faction. It is different per faction. And also some factions have two different variants, which are Deep Delve variant. Because the Deep Delve variant of this faction has 3 treasure rooms. But the standard layout only has 1 treasure room. All the way in top left. Because I think this is the last delve we have to do. Until Tuesday. You watch all 6 episodes of Mandarian? How many times they're gonna fly through canyons? Sometimes when you go to the last 2 rooms, the boss room and the amount of gold you can get is 500 instead of 100. Even in the same delve, you sometimes get 500. Oh, Cedric. Whenever you take a Cedric, it gives you a 100% gold bonus per troop, which increases your cap gold from 100 to 500. But yeah, it's whenever you take a Cedric room. So there are positive and negative effects that you get from every room. Most of them are negative effects. However, treasure rooms have a couple positive effects that they can end up giving. And one of those is a Cedric room. And whenever you kill a Cedric room, it gives you a 100% gold bonus for the rest of the delve. This does not apply to the bigger number. Like, for example, let's say a room says it gives 800 gold. That doesn't apply to that number, but it does apply to this number right over here that you see on screen. So, like, right now we'd have 200 gold instead of 40. But, yeah, it's whenever you take a Cedric room that ends up causing that. It's one of the few treasure rooms that's actually a priority to take first rather than last. And you generally see it a lot more often in delves that have a lot of treasure rooms in it. As one of the few exceptions where you would actually take a treasure room first rather than last, as you get more loot from taking it earlier rather than later. So hello, Kyra. Welcome, welcome. So hello, John, as well. Hello, Anthony. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope all you had a wonderful Easter. We'll need to hand out another code soon. As soon as we finish out this faction wall, I'll hand out another one a little bit later. Wait, what was the thing I would say I would hand out a code for today? There's another thing I said I would give out a code for, and I completely forgot what it was from yesterday. Already forget. But yeah, Cedric rooms are pretty good. The main value you can get from them is if you're using something that can give you a lot of gold. In our case right now, Leprechaun is pretty good for that. Greed actually used to be used back in the day, and probably still could, in delves that have a lot of Cedrics. Like, for example, a lot of just standard treasure rooms. City of Thieves is pretty popular for that, because every treasure room is one battle away from the starting room. So if there is a Cedric, you just immediately go for it. It's one of the reasons why it actually is one of the better loots of any faction in the game, is because every treasure room is one square away, so if there's a Cedric room, you can get a lot of gold value out of it, ultimately. You were playing Dark Souls 3, nice. Some of my friends got me to try one of the Dark Souls games, and I got lost in the tutorial. And then once I got out, I, like, immediately died. It was Dark Souls 1, though, so it was a little bit harder to follow. Where's the full Playboy bunny costume? That's not what it is. It's just some bunny ears. Dying in Dark Souls is part of the journey. There we go. And unfortunately, no good orbs, but the event has been completed, and it only cost us, what? 210 gems, plus we need to do that anyways to max out the troop. And there we go. Anyways, so, in other news, let's go ahead and another code. And then we'll go mess around with, I guess clearing out dailies, and then, oh yeah! I know what it was! I remember now. You know what I wanted to do tonight? I wanted to finish out every last Vault key we have, and then hand out a key when we do. I remember what it was now. It's all coming back to me. Oh yeah, tonight's the night we go to 0 Vault keys. I almost completely forgot. But yeah, tonight's the night we're gonna go keep grinding until we hit 0 Vault keys. For Easter. So we'll have a bunch of loot chests to go open. Anyways, I'm gonna hand out a second code and we'll hand out the third when we hit 0 keys. How about that? Okay, here you guys go. Here's code number 2, and code 3 will be when we hit 0 Vault keys. Before we do that, let's go clear out a few other things first. So first things first, not that. Let me go to clear all these out real quick. Then we'll clear out the other dailies, and then we'll get on the grind. Okay, let's go for Spirit Walker. The RE4 remake, what does that one stand for? I don't remember. There's so many games coming out the next month or two. The main 3 that have my attention at the moment are the Mega Man Battle Network collection that we're doing next week, and it comes out on Friday. I'm not sure what time on Friday. I hope they post an official time. But it's coming out this Friday. So get ready for us streaming every, like, 24/7 this weekend, doing just that. But there's that. There's Darkest Dungeon 2 official release. Oh, Resident Evil 4. Wait, they released the 4th one? Gosh, how many are there? I thought there was only like 2 or 3. How many have they made? The number is going up. Yeah, the main 3 that have my attention over the next month is Mega Man Battle Network is completely re-releasing for their 15-year anniversary, 20-year anniversary, whatever it is. I think it's 15-year, or whatever it is, of Mega Man. And that's releasing this weekend, or by this weekend I mean next week. So the upcoming weekend, I mean. So next Friday. So we'll be doing that a ton. After that, Darkest Dungeon 2 official release is early May. And then after that, we have Tears of the Kingdom, the Legend of Zelda game that, if good, will actually win Game of the Year, probably. Realistically. Because it's probably like Nintendo's biggest like IP at this point, as far as going all out on making a good experience. Breath of the Wild 1, even though I haven't played it, I do know like a lot of the mechanics, and they developed the game pretty well. Like, it definitely deserved to win Game of the Year. If the sequel will is within question, but it definitely has a lot of hype for it, that's for sure. I never played the first one. We still need to at some point. Where on earth we're squeezing that in, I have no clue. But sometime in the next month, we need to squeeze in the entirety of Breath of the Wild 1. Which, I'm not sure where we're putting that, but at some point, we will be. Honestly, I'm probably most hyped for the Mega Man game, though, next week. That was, like, my childhood game, and to be able to play through all of them again is gonna be so nice. I hope it doesn't have any glitches, though. Because remaking all those on modern hardware, I could only imagine the amount of issues that's gonna have on launch day. And, let's hope there's none. Even though you know there's gonna be a ton. I'm just hoping that the games are stable and non-glitchy. Alright, let's go take this out with Zolgoth. Yeah, that's always a concern with, like, every remake these days. Is like, is it just a cash grab remake that they put, like, almost no effort into? Or did they actually, like, make it properly? Because you don't really know beforehand until it actually happens. Like, you know what the game's gonna be and everything, but you never know the quality of the remake itself until it actually happens. And then that's kind of too late at that point sometimes. Let's see. The last Legend of Zelda game you finished was the original. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever, like, truly finished any Legend of Zelda game. Like, storyline, yes. But what it would be considered 100% completion in a Zelda game, I have never done a single time in any Zelda game. So maybe we'll do it for Tears of the Kingdom, we'll see. Though if it has as much content as Breath of the Wild 1, we are probably never 100%ing it. It's just too long of an experience to do so. Because I'm pretty sure Breath of the Wild 1 completion time with no guides is probably like 500 hours for full completion or something. Actually, let's go look that up. I'm actually kind of curious. What is Breath of the Wild 1's 100% completion? Breath of the Wild 100% completion time. 189 hours. I'm skeptical of that number being that low. Like, this one, yes. For, like, standard completion, that is about what it should be. I'm pretty sure this number is higher than 189 hours. Based on some things I know about the game. Which is not, like, a huge amount, but I'm pretty sure it is higher than 189 hours, but maybe it is that low. Still not gonna do it, though. Because it's, like, 4 times as long as a standard completion. But we might do it for Tears of the Kingdom. We'll see. Just so we can say we finally, like, fully completed a Legend of Zelda game. Because I never have for 100% full completion, ever. Storyline completion, yes, but full-blown completion, never. Well, it's because there's already... There's always so many small things in those games. And back when I used to be playing more of them, like, for example, Ocarina of Time and everything, the internet was nowhere near what it was today. So, even being able to do that was, like, a absurd feat to do without, like, any guides at all. Especially in games like those in the past where there wasn't as much guidance on, like, where you should go if you didn't have something completed. Where you might even think that you've completed everything and then not realize, oh, there's still other things you haven't completed. Like, you could even think you had 100% completion, you might not have 100% completion. There just was no way in the past to really know before the days of the modern internet. Because even if a game says 100%, that doesn't mean you actually did everything. Anyways. So, we did that. We did that. Come on, 2 more days. If we get lucky tomorrow. Actually, you know what? I almost want to go merchant hunting tonight so we can get 1 Dragonite, so we'll have it by tomorrow, but I guess we'll cover it on Tuesday. That's fine. And Nintendo Power and Game Pro, yeah. Gosh, those are ancient. Didn't they retire those after like 2003 or something? That's like ancient history right there. But anyways, let's go and gosh, I want like just a small amount of Dragonite. Why can't we just like get a burst of 80 Dragonite all of a sudden? Kind of unfortunate. Anyways, okay, let's go open a bunch of Volkeys. Let me actually go update the title too, because I forgot to put this in the title because that was one thing I wanted to do today. One thing I wanted to do today was consume every last Volkey we have. Let's see. Oh no, Cookie, I saw your other comments. I just didn't read out all of them. And let's see, 0 Volkeys. I'm gonna just say 0 Volkey opening. Volkeys to 0. So why is it not typing? There it goes. Volkeys to 0. Wait, what? What is it doing? There it goes. That was weird. Anyways, I have fixed the title. We're gonna keep opening Volkeys until we have 0 Volkeys. That's one goal for tonight. We do not stop until we have 0 Volkeys remaining. It shouldn't be that hard. Just have to do it for like half an hour. Which is pretty much how long we'd normally be streaming for anyways. But that's the goal at this point. Finally hit 0 Volkeys for the first time in like 4 years or whatever it is. Oh yeah, you know what I need to go do? I said I would donate 10 million gold to the guild this week. Orb Forging. For the Easter event. So let me go do that. Oh, you saw the Mario movie? How was it, by the way? I was planning on seeing it. I just haven't bothered yet. Because I keep forgetting that movie theaters exist. Over the last several years. But the biggest issue, I mentioned this earlier too, is that, what am I even looking for here? Wait, why'd I come here? I was about to go do something, I already forgot what it was now. Wait, gosh, I'm all over the place. Where is the thing I was about to go do? But yeah, I was going to see the Mario movie. The biggest issue is the movie theater closest to me, I think, still hasn't reopened yet. Which means the next closest one is very far away in the mall. Oh yeah, donate gold, thank you. Gosh, my brain is like thinking all over the place. Anyways, here we go, guild. 10 million. Hopefully I have a full guild right now. There goes go. Happy Easter. Go down 10 million. Gosh, we have so much remaining gold right now. From all the Volkeys we've been opening. Alright, let's see if we got anything. Oh, did we just get a mythic? I think that was a mythic right there, wasn't it? It was actually the one that goes with the mythic we have right now. That's so funny! You know that mythic that's in Drop Table right now? That does the good gargoyle gem that's really useless that came out yesterday, I mean on Friday. This was the guy that synergizes with them. That's really funny. There's no reason to use them together because they're both kind of bad. But that's really funny because we literally just got a mythic 2 days ago that synergized with this guy. There actually is a reason to use multiple of him though. Multiple good gargoyle gems off of him could be usable. I think I only had 1 before, so there we go, another copy. But yeah, we actually rolled a mythic. That's pretty lucky. Yeah, Tourmaline, which is really funny because we literally have a mythic in Drop Table right now that has good gargoyle gem synergy. Unfortunately, they're both kind of underwhelming, particularly this newer one, which is even worse. But at least we got another copy of the better one. Anyways, that's kind of funny. Because that's quite coincidental with the mechanic we already have the other day. Unfortunately, not really that usable, despite the synergy. Or at least the theoretical synergy. And there we go, now everyone in my guild has it. He might be usable at some point in some day. It depends if they add more gargoyle mechanics into the game. Because he's not necessarily bad. He's just not good. There is a difference. Like, he's usable, but you wouldn't really use him that often, if ever. Like, if you had to use him on a team, you wouldn't be disappointed with him. But you would never actively put him onto a team, generally. Unless there ever becomes like a gigantic good gargoyle gem meta in the game or something. Or just a gargoyle gem mechanic in general. But that's rare because a lot of the power gems do not come back with mechanics into the future that often. Like obviously the most recent Mythic did. But they have not had a high track record of adding old power gem mechanics into the game. They do ever so occasionally, but you'll be lucky if every mechanic gets even like 1 new option each year. Like, we've never had a new option for wish gems or wildcard gems or potion gems. Like, there's so many good effects that theoretically they could make so many options out of, but they just haven't. Maybe out of concern they'd be too strong or what, I'm not sure. A lot of power gems don't really make much of a return after their event. And I wish they would a little bit more often. Maybe even go a couple events without adding new ones and just go revisit a past one. Because that wouldn't hurt. Like if they just randomly have one where they revisit potion gems or something similar. And then that event just brings in a bunch of those again and has Potion Storm again. Because they don't have to add a new power gem every single time. So far they have. Every single event, since the second one I believe it was, or the third one or whatever it was, has added a new power gem every single time. But they don't need to. They could just revisit an old power gem or something. It doesn't have to be a new one literally every time. Oh, do we have a Dragon Gem troop coming up soon? Oh, cool. Dragon Gems are pretty underpowered, though, unfortunately. Oh, it's empowered, too? Oh, wait, that makes things different. Hold up. Empowered Dragon Gem could actually be usable. Because the biggest issue with Dragon Gems right now is they're bad. But if they're empowered, ooh. Might be able to do something with that. Because doing it on turn 1 actually wouldn't be that bad. The biggest issue with them is they generally have too high of a mana pool to justify using. In that situation, that wouldn't be as big of an issue. But we'll hand out one last redeem code once we finally finish out every Vault Key we have. That's the game plan. Hit 0 Vault Keys tonight. For the first time in like 4 years or so. Because we've pretty much had some reserve of Vault Keys ever since Vault Keys were first released. And this is the lowest we've ever had, and soon to be the absolute lowest once we hit 0. We still have Epic Vault Keys, so if they randomly do some kind of Vault Key buff, we still have a reserve. But we're going all the way to 0 normal Vault Keys, which shouldn't be too big a deal. We actually have a Vault event 2 weeks from now. Not next weekend, but the following weekend. Which, good thing it isn't next weekend, because Mega Man's coming out that weekend. Let's see. You hope next week we get Uber Doom Skulls from Sky? Yeah, that was one weird thing. Originally, what was supposed to happen is Uber Doom Skulls were supposed to be the power gem in between every single, like, during every single Tower of Doom event. But then they stopped doing it for some reason, and I don't understand why. Because that was the premise, was the Tower of Dooms would always have the Doom Skulls, whereas the other 10 days would always have whatever, you know, or 10 weeks would always have whatever the power gem is, you know, the new one. But ever since they started doing power gems, they kind of like pseudo-retired the Doom Skulls from Sky in between the events. Which is weird. Because for the longest time they were, and then it just stopped for like a year, and they still haven't brought it back. Because that definitely makes it a lot easier to get the achievement for anyone who doesn't have it. As well as just a fun mechanic to mess around with if you happen to get a good burst damage from it. But yeah, it doesn't really happen these days. I'm not sure why. It's like randomly just doesn't anymore. It's been like that for almost a year now. Overforging, unfortunately not a good one. Though they have been adding quite a few lower rarity things, so it's not too big a deal for newer players to get. As there are lower level Uber Doom Skull creators now, rather than just mythics only. Or wait for Sky Gem effect. Which seems to like almost never happen these days. Yeah, Arc Proxy Evandra is the only troop that naturally has a Uber Doom Skull Storm, I believe. Unless there's one I'm forgetting of. Isn't there one that gets it when you get a kill? There might be one other one. Oh, that's another ingot for the pile. Yeah, she's the only way to do it consistently. As well as having an ability that creates a billion of them. But there are ways to do it without having her. It's just way slower. Hey, 300 gems. We're sitting on like 40,000 something gems. You know one thing that's going to be sad when we run out of Vault Keys? Which even more of a reason to go grind the next Vault event. But we are going to have like no remaining no remaining way of getting more gems. Like, obviously, we're still going to be getting gems from Tribute and everything else, which is still a lot of gems. But the gigantic bursts that we've been getting from Volkies just are going to stop. It's going to feel weird because our rate of gem increase is just going to go down so rapidly. But it's also not, in a sense, because even though we are not going to be opening so many Volkies anymore, we also won't have to spend 300 gems a day. So it kind of evens out. But no, there's still a lot of ways to always get gems. Like, we have Tribute, Gold Keys, yeah, pretty much the entirety of Tribute. Honestly, I'm not sure what Gems of War would be if the Tribute system did not exist. Because it is pretty much the underlying feature that makes Gems of War function. Because you want to upgrade kingdoms to get better Tribute. To upgrade kingdoms, you have to upgrade everything in the game. To upgrade everything in the game, everything then becomes useful. And just like a self-perpetuating cycle. And then to be able to get those gems and everything, it allows you to get more upgrades and, you know, just keeps going over and over again. It's a really absurdly good system. I'm surprised more games don't use. And no paywalled currency, which is always nice. Obviously, there are things you can only buy with money, though they're very few in this game. And normally they're just early access to content rather than, like, not being able to get it. Like, there are a few things that are kind of only money locked in the current state of the game, but not that many. Most of it's just early access to stuff. Like the the campaign pass we just had. With like the Raven and everything. Like all that will be in drop table. The only thing that might not is the pet, but everything else, which is just cosmetic anyways. But everything else, and some of those have come back before as well, but they haven't really been lately. But everything else just comes into drop table at a later point, in like several weeks from now. Like by the time, like let's say June hits, you'll probably be able to find like a King of Ravens in random drop table or in Soulforge or something similar. Or if his event comes around, you'll be able to event key for him. Because most of the things that they do, like Kingdom Passes, Campaign Passes, it's almost all just early access to the content rather than exclusivity to the content, which I really like. Because that's an issue I feel like almost every free-to-play live service has. Is that they're really hard to get into if you didn't, like, initially get into them upon launch. Because, Orb of Glory. Because if you want, like, almost everything, a lot of stuff just gets completely locked out of those kind of games. Where if you didn't earn it in the past, you'll never be able to earn it again. Whereas in Gems of War, with a few exceptions, you could pretty much just get every single thing at a later point. Regardless from when you started that. The biggest two that are up in the air on that are past event pets have not been returning as of recently. So we don't really know what the state of them are. But I believe you could occasionally get them for like $2, so maybe you still can get them. I don't know because I have every pet in the game, so it never shows me how that mechanic works. So I'm not fully sure, but I think you might be able to get them that way. Which is still money locked, but it's not as money locked. And so maybe that might actually be covered. And I just don't even realize it because I have them all. But the other thing is, what was the other thing? I was about to mention it. Oh yeah, the armors. The holiday armors. We don't exactly know how those are going to work. It's a relatively newer mechanic that came in a couple months ago. And we don't know if they're ever going to return. If they're going to cycle like every holiday or what exactly their deal is. For example, the Halloween armor that came out, the spring armor that we're about to get in 2 weeks from now. Stuff like that. The Christmas armor. We don't know how, if, or ever they're going to return. Mostly because it's a relatively new mechanic that's only existed for like 5-6 months since October, I mean. But hopefully they'll return in some way in the future for people who didn't get them. Or who knows, maybe we'll just run them literally every year. And we're just going to get a bunch the first year and then they stop doing any and just keep repeating the old ones. We don't know. Yeah, Vault events have made progression in this game absurdly quick. Mostly due to Nomapalooza. How Nomapalooza ended up passing and making it into the game is beyond my comprehension. Like, I don't understand how it made it into the game, especially in the launch state, because if any of you remember how Nomapalooza launched, it was the funniest experience ever. They broke the entire economy in the game in less than a day. It was wonderful. But even after nerfing it like 3 or 4 times, it is still like 20 times better than what Vault events were prior. Like 20 to 30 times better. It's kind of insane. Even after several nerfs. Like, I have no clue how that got comprehended into the game, but honestly, the whole game is, like, centered around it now. Like, the whole economy of the game is, like, grind Volt Event like crazy when they happen. It is pretty much Gems of War economy. Tribute and power grind Volt Event every time they occur. And you will have, like, near infinite resources. We're almost there. Halfway through the keys. Still got a little more to go. Probably gonna go for another 20-30 minutes then. Because we're not ending until we hit 0 keys. And then we'll also enter the code when we do as well. But this stream does not end until we have no Volt keys remaining. And by no Volt keys, I mean standard, not epic Volt keys. We're not opening every epic Volt key. But we are opening every normal Volt key right now. And in 2 weeks from now, we can go farm a bunch more. Speaking of Vault events, not next weekend, but the following weekend's Vault event. Oh, wow, look at that. Volkey and an orb. Unfortunately, the orb was kind of average, but we'll take it. Oh, it's just a skull. Be good to go. Always nice to see a board with a lot of skulls so we can actually one-shot for once. So it feels like it never wants to happen sometimes. Best Tuesday, Thursday of... I know, I didn't get to farm it that much either. That one super broken day. Because there was one day when they first did the Nomapalooza, when it first launched on a Thursday. That just completely had absurd rates. Like, you would get like 4 to 5 sets of Paloozas per Palooza you did. Like, there are still Paloozas within your Palooza, but the rate is like 200 times less than what it launched at for the one day. I'm not sure how those rates made it through. Because regardless of how quickly you could farm it, the rates they had made it so you would get infinite Paloozas. Regardless of the speed at which you could farm it. Because one thing they didn't really estimate in their calculation was how quick you could farm them. But even without that information, you could tell just based on the drop rates that you would get multiple sets of them per Palooza. Even if you were only winning like 1 battle a minute, you were still profiting Paloozas. And a good QA system. The weirdest thing is they actually beta tested that one. I wasn't in that beta test. I haven't been in it for like 2 or 3 years now. It's because I haven't been bothering to. Because they don't take too much feedback from them. Yeah, I wonder what that QA was like for that. Because how did it, like, no one pause, like, this might be too much resources. Might be slightly too broken. But yeah, there are still people who have, like, excess Paloozas from that day. I don't, because I didn't have as much time that day to farm it. And they patched it within 24 hours. It still took them a couple months before they did all the other nerfs. But the one Ultra nerf they did happened within the first 24 hours. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some people in the beta test mentioned it, but they did nothing about it. I honestly don't doubt that. It's one of the reasons I stopped doing the beta test. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the reasons why Hawks ended up leaving the game. Because I believe she was in most of the beta tests. and she saw how little they would actually take feedback from, and it was like, oh, okay, I'm just done. Because the main straw for her was definitely when they changed the RNG on dungeons after they like data mined and figured out like pretty much how it works, and then they like immediately nerf it to make sure that people couldn't. Which honestly, I was actually on the dev side on that one. Like I feel like they actually should have done that, and they did. I still don't feel like the RNGs works properly on dungeons even still now though. But yeah, they're really bad at taking feedback during betas. And I'm pretty sure they haven't gotten better at it over the years. Because you could mention, like, the exact structural problem that is very obviously an issue, and they will never fix it. I think one of the longest standing ones is the way that Underworld works. One thing I mentioned and a few other during the beta, before Underworld even existed, was that there's no point in doing level 500 shards with how they have it scaled. And to this day, it is still pointless to do level 500 Underworld. It was mentioned before it even launched that there's no point in doing level 500 factions. Like, you know, once you've completed it out, there's no point. And they still have added no incentive structure. It is actually better loot to grind level 20s or level 50 factions than it is to grind 500. Because to this day, they still have not added any incentive structure to doing the higher level ones. And this was something that was brought up to them before it even launched. And like 3-4 years later, they've still done literally nothing about it at all. Which is very strange. Like, you can point out a super obvious issue and they will, like, never fix it. Yeah, it is still the meta to keep City of Thieves at 20. Or similar faction at 20. Just farm it daily or 3 times. I don't bother. But it is still meta to do that. Because after like 4 or so years, they still have done no changes to it. Alright, 24 more keys until we finally hit 0. Then we'll go hand out a final redeem code. And honestly, I wouldn't even mind if it was, like, good to farm, like, the 20 factions and 50 factions. But the problem is, there's no incentive to do the 500s. Like, at least make it worthwhile. Add something to it, so that 500s are, like, worthwhile to repeat. Because even if you have 500 unlocked on every faction, it is not worth running 500. You get more loot just from doing the 50. Relative to time spent. How's that not full mana? What are you doing not surging? They could add more treasure maps. Oh gosh. I'm still want to know when that treasure map rework is going to come in. It's something they've been teasing for like 5 or 6 years now. And still hasn't happened. It's like the mythic tier list note. But, yeah, they've been mentioning it for such an absurdly long time, and it, to this day, has not happened. It was originally going to be around the time they did the arena rework. That rework that happened like 2 or 3 years ago. And it never did. They said they would do it afterwards, because they weren't able to fit it both in one patch. And to this day, they still have not done it. Because originally, they were both going to be in the same patch, where they both do both an arena rework and a treasure hunt rework simultaneously. But then they delayed the treasure hunt rework side of that. And they delayed it so long that it still has not happened. Years later. There's so many things they could do to rework it too. Some simpler, some a lot more complicated. Yeah, they boosted dungeons. The dungeon rework was... I feel like the dungeon rework was fine. I don't feel like it was bad. Like, I felt like the arena one was underwhelming, but honestly, the one for dungeons, I feel it looks perfectly balanced. It didn't make the event take too long, but you had the option to make it take longer in exchange for more loot. And I feel like it was pretty balanced, because it kept the very quick nature of them, which is good. You don't want dailies to take too long. But they also buffed the loot. So it was a good balance of both. I honestly really think it was fine the way that they reworked dungeons. Because the worst part would have been if they reworked dungeons in a way where they made an event that takes like 1 minute to a few minutes take like 10 minutes per day. Like, that would have been really bad. But that's not what they did. They kept it to be about the same amount of time, though a little bit longer at the higher difficulties, obviously, if you go for it. But they didn't make it take like an absurd amount of time compared to what it originally was. Which I think was a good balance. Oh, you meant the Delve rework thing. Yeah, I think the most disappointing things that has happened with Delves is the way they went about Deep Delves. Deep Delves are pointless. There's so much potential they could have done, like reworking the chest drop table, adding a bunch more special loot rooms, like anything. And they did like almost none of them. But I think the biggest missed opportunity with Deep Delves is the final chest has the same loot as a standard Delve. There's no reason that should be the case. They didn't have to buff it too much, but the final chest for Deep Delve should be different than the final chest for standard Delves. Because as it currently stands, they're the exact same loot. Like, the exact loot drop table you get for a standard Delve completion at the final chest is the same you get from a Deep Delve chest. There's literally no difference. Which is a huge missed opportunity to actually put, you know, like, useful resources in there. Like, you know, maybe writs at a small amount or something, like, useful beyond just shards. A lot of people don't even need anymore. Yep, final 10 keys. Oh gosh, we're about to hit single-digit Volt keys. Back in the days when like a dozen Volt keys in a weekend was considered high. Which these days means you probably barely even played. You might have just done your dailies if you get 12 Volt keys during a Vault event now. Whereas back in the day, that meant you grinded for like 30 hours over the Vault weekend if you got 12. Nowadays, that means you played for like maybe half an hour to an hour. No, or maybe not. It's slightly more, because you would need at least one Palooza. If you use at least one Palooza, you'll have way over 20 in the current state of the game. Whereas back in the day, having 20 meant you farmed like 50 hours on the weekend. But luckily they are way easier to get these days. Like way, way, way easier. By a margin of at least like 20 times easier. Due to Paloozas, and that's after all the Palooza nerfs too, which is still kind of insane. We were mentioning it earlier too. But there we go, the final 7 keys. It's time for the countdown. You had to elite medal your 31st mythic without tier list. I know, I'm going to have the tier list soon. The main reason I wanted to put it off a little bit is I want to be able to actually fully test the Double Diamantina team, which we'll be able to this Tuesday. So I really hope to have it out by Thursday this week. Because we can officially say we've tried every mythic in the current state of the game. I can't feel like I can truly say I've tried Diamantina until I have Double Diamantina. Because Double Diamantina is quite a bit different than Single Diamantina. Also, this Thursday, if I don't have that, we'll definitely have the Diamantina video out, if nothing else. Maybe even this Wednesday. Because I'm not streaming RuneScape this Wednesday during the day. So maybe we'll actually do it this Wednesday and then hopefully have the Mythic tier list on Thursday then. Because once Mega Man Battle Network comes out, like every free time I have in the next week or so is going pretty much entirely into Mega Man Battle Network. We might try completing out the entirety of the 3rd game in a single week before we have Vault event the following weekend for Gems of War. And that's only 1/6 of all of them too, because there's 6 games that released or will be re-releasing. And we're going to hopefully try to do one of the 6 within a week. It's a pretty long game though, like each one's like a 20 to like 50, 60 hour experience. And there's 6 of them. Do any end gamers have all Mythics Gold yet? I would assume the answer to that is yes. Though I do not actually know. Because I haven't been keeping up with the forum or anything like that recently. But if I had to guess, I would say the answer is yes. Or very close, if not all the way. Because if anyone had really high reserve of vault keys like we did, or, you know, some people had way higher than what we would have had, then they probably could have. It's the moment of truth. The very last vault key. And we'll hit 0 for the first time in like 4 or 5 years now. That's gonna hurt. Luckily we have Epic Vault Key, so we technically didn't hit 0. We also have a Vault event in 2 weeks, so we could repair that back to like 1,000 if we power grind enough. Which I hope to do so. Because that's also going to be the 7-year anniversary of the channel. And I want to make it a goal to hit, 1,000 on next weekend. And by next weekend, I mean 2 weeks from now. Too many dates. But not next weekend's, not this week's weekend, but next week's weekend. In like 11 days from now. Anyways, what are we doing here? You need mana. You need to not get mana. Come on, mana. Gosh, this thing's gonna take so long. Wasn't paying attention to the damage range. Alright, there we go. Oh, that was a very elongated fight, but he is down. What do we get? Oh no! Look at that! I've never seen this button before. What is this button? I didn't even know this existed. A play again button that has a key icon, but it doesn't let you click on it? I've never seen this before. That's actually funny. Wait, I need to screenshot this. I've actually never seen this before. That's really, really funny. Because I've always had vault keys since they've added this system. So I've actually never seen this play again grayed out button with a key. Because I've always had keys. Because this feature of playing again directly into the battle didn't exist back when vault keys first released. So I've never actually seen this screen before. Where it has a grayed out play again vault key button. Oh no. I want to play again. Let me get loot. Oh, there we go. We officially have hit 0 vault keys. The first time in like 4 or 5 years. That's really funny. But there it is. 0 vault keys. Obviously we have a billion epic vault keys. That's for later. So we have an actual 0 keys, but we hit 0 vault keys specifically. Oh, there we go. I'm not using the epic vault keys though. Those we're going to keep hoarding. But yeah, don't forget to take the Easter thing. Speaking of which, free Easter things. Here you guys go. The final code to stream. Any other questions, anyone, by the way? Otherwise, I think we might be wrapping up here soon. As I'm about to go eat more Easter food. Well, it's still all good and fresh. But any other questions, anyone? Otherwise, I hope you all had a wonderful holiday, a wonderful weekend, and yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night, same time as always, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 hour prior to now tomorrow. We'll mostly be doing Tower of Doom. I'll probably do the entirety of Tower of Doom tomorrow night. It's Red Tower of Doom. So we have access to a lot of hard hitters. Obviously, we have Zolgoth, Angry Mob, all that kind of good stuff. One thing to keep in mind, too, if you need a good exploder. What's that one thing? Stone Song Eerie. Gosh, what's her name? That one red, yellow, Swift Troop. Why did I forget her name? Yeah, Harpy Mage. Harpy Mage is going to be a really good mana accumulator. Because you're going to have access to enchant and everything. So put this in like your last slot and you'll be good to go. She's basically turned to Empower Leprechaun. So if you need like a mana accumulator, just center around that. But we'll have a bunch of teams mentioned on that tomorrow. Probably in several hours from now. Because gosh, tomorrow's already Monday. It does not feel like that. Today just flew by. Today's Easter. But I was even mentioned that yesterday, that today would probably fly by, and it definitely did. But yeah, sometime in the next several hours, we'll have a video going up on a bunch of teams. Mostly Tower of Doom teams, all the weekly stuff, you know, all the normal stuff we cover in the weekly video. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful week. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for stopping by. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch all you guys later. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching, as always. Greatly appreciated.